Well, hey everyone, Tim Topham here, and apologies for being a bit quiet recently on the Facebook Lives. I've been doing a fair bit of travelling and presenting, and have a lot going on in the background, some of which I want to talk about today actually. And really today is just a bit of a little quick fill-in of some of the things that we've got going on here at timtopham.com at the moment and for the month ahead of March, because it's stacking up to be pretty busy. So hopefully this is a good little roundup of what's going on. So firstly, thank you to everyone who's been attending the workshops that I've been running. As many of you know, I released a series of publications for the Australian Music Exam Board at the end of last year, and I'm now sharing those with teachers all around Australia. So that's going really, really well. I've just come back from Tasmania. Great to meet teachers down in Tassie, and we'll be heading to Brisbane this weekend, before then heading over to Orlando for the MTNA conference the following weekend. So it's a fun lineup, a really busy time, but I'm so enjoying it because I just love interacting with teachers around the world, doing their thing in their studios, and seeing if I can give them a few little tips about other ways that they can approach things. And look, I learn heaps, of course, from all of you that I meet out and about too. So it definitely goes both ways when I do those workshops. So when it comes to the MTNA, let me know if you are coming to that. I know a lot of members are coming, a lot of podcast listeners are going to be there, so it's going to be a fantastic opportunity to meet firstly, to rekindle some of those friendships that I've had from previous visits, and of course I'll be speaking as well. So the conference is March 17-21 at Disney Coronado Springs Resort in Orlando, and my topic is it's got a funny name. It's called Tetris versus Pac-Man. Is the reading in the dots or the blocks? And it talks about my approach to reading and getting a student's understanding of reading a lot deeper by looking past the dots, and I use Tetris and Pac-Man as two metaphors for that. So it's a good fun workshop. I did it just on Saturday in Tasmania. So and that went down pretty well. The cat's just crawled onto my lap here. Hello, if you can see, there he is right there. Hey Brunson. Has to be as close as possible. So that I'm actually giving that talk on Tuesday the 20th of March, and that's at 2:15 to 3:15. So I hope many of you will be able to come along. I know there's a number of sessions on at the same time as always at these conferences, so it's always a hard choice to make, but it will obviously be great to see as many of you there as possible. And then after MTNA, April 6 to 8, I'll be heading to Perth, Western Australia, for the West Australian Piano Pedagogy Convention. It's a bit of a mouthful, but a fantastic event, and I've been a number of times, and I can't wait to get back to Perth, one of my favourite cities, and a place that I lived for a number of years. So I'll be giving, I think, about three talks over at WAPPC, including a big run through of the Piano for Leisure books, so lots of playing so you can hear that music for the people in Perth. Now, really interested in your feedback on the podcast. As you know, this year we've changed up the podcast and we're just doing some seasons. So 4 seasons with 8 episodes each, so they're shorter and hopefully a little bit more punchy. And I'd love to hear from you if you're live now listening to this, or if you are watching the replay. Just leave me a comment. How have you found it? Are you listening to it? Maybe you've forgotten about it and don't even know it's back on. It certainly is back on, and we've been running for a number of months now, weeks now. We're up to about episode 5 of season 1 for this year, and going really, really well. This week's release will be actually a solo show, me. I'm actually pulling apart an article that I found online and relating that to my thinking on acoustics versus digital pianos and the impacts of those. So you can tune in to that this Friday. It gets released. Oh no, my cat's going to pull my whole thing off. If you go, here he is. Has everyone met Bronson? This is the famous Bronson from Instagram now. Unhappy cat. So yeah, let me know what you think about it. That show goes live this Friday, and then I've got to tell you, the last 3 months of March are totally amazing. I've got, as my special guest for a 3-part series on motivation, the one and only Samantha Coates, who just I can't even begin to explain how well she gives background and thinking and real strategies around motivating students, as well as motivating parents, which is often a forgotten concept or thought, I guess, in the triangle of parent, student, and teacher. So that is coming up starting next Friday, and then for the following 3 Fridays we're doing a 3-part series. It comes with, she's given us some downloads that you can get on the website. It's extraordinary, and if you've seen Samantha present before, you'll know she is an absolute superstar. So that's coming up on the podcast. But yeah, really interested just to know what are your thoughts on the new format of moving to these seasons and some of the guests and topics that we've had so far. Yes, we can all hear you crying. My cat. Now, very, very exciting news. I have the absolute pleasure this Wednesday of interviewing the one and only John Schmidt from the Piano Guys. Now, I know that just about every teacher in the world has probably found their videos somewhere. They're very well known for videos of pianos at the edges of waterfalls and on cliff tops and in the Antarctic or wherever they film. Amazing, both footage, the cinematography is incredible, but also, of course, the music is great. And I even chose one of his pieces for that series that I've done for the Australian music exams down here. It is great to be able to have him. He's going to be a podcast guest coming up in season 2, and I get to interview him this week. So I am really interested in any questions any of you have for John or any of the team from the Piano Guys. I've already got some questions coming through on another Facebook post that I've left, but if you've got any questions, anything you would love to know about his work, his background, how they do those amazing videos, then leave a comment on this Facebook Live. More than happy to go through them a little bit later, and I'll put as many as I can to him, and I'll most certainly let you know when that interview goes live. It'll be in season 2 of the podcast, which will be launching at the start of May. So any questions for John Schmidt, let me know. And I've got another really great discussion coming up just next week. I'm going to do a Facebook Live with 2 good friends who I'm developing some relationships with, Danny Thompson and Dave Simon. Now, these guys both based in the United States, and Danny has his own podcast called the Music Lesson Business Academy. And I've got to say, it is really, really good. If you like my podcast and you're interested in more of the business side of things as well as the creative teaching, then definitely check out his podcast. They did an episode just a couple of weeks ago all about practice and whether the requests that we have to get kids to practice is actually harming our ability to build our studios and make connections with students. It's a really interesting discussion, and it comes on the back of some research that Dave Simon did with some of his parents, and it is absolutely fascinating. I guarantee this conversation is going to make you think twice about some of the requests that we just kind of assume is what we should be doing as music teachers. It's going to be really interesting. So that's going to go live early next week. So probably Monday or Tuesday, this kind of time, I would guess. We're still just working on the final booking details for that. But definitely stay tuned. That's going to be a really, really interesting discussion, which I cannot wait to have with those 2 awesome gentlemen who I've been following and listening to for some time now. And finally, just to wrap things up for this month, we will be finishing the month with another webinar, as I always like to do. And this month's topic is going to be teaching adults, because it's not one that I've really shared many thoughts on before. And it was really exciting for me to meet finally Tom Donald, who you may remember was on my podcast last year. He is the head of the London Contemporary Piano School over there, and he has some really interesting approaches to teaching adults, particularly around the scheduling and the payments and the logistics of teaching adults. So what I'm going to do with this webinar is he's going to talk a little bit about that and what he does, and I'm going to talk about more of the pedagogy side of things, which we'll also discuss together. So some of the content, the ways to approach teaching what you do in the lessons with adults, I'll be focusing on some of those things. But what I'm planning is a little bit of a different webinar. I'm going to make it like a live podcast. that, of course, because it's a webinar, there'll be lots of people in the chat room, so you can actually ask us questions as we're doing it. So it's going to be somewhat of an interview style. So I'm going to interview Tom. We're going to have a discussion, a little bit like we did over a beer in London when I was just over there recently. It was so great to meet him personally, finally. We had this great discussion. I thought, we've got to share this with other teachers. While we could do it on a podcast, you guys obviously can't ask questions. So I'm going to try this out. It's a new idea. End of this month, it'll be the Wednesday, the 28th of March, Tuesday, the 27th of March in the United Kingdom and the United States, depending on your time zone. And we're going to do this as a bit of a live interview. So if you're on the call, you can ask questions. It's going to be everything to do with teaching adults, both from the administration, scheduling, billing, expectation side of things, and also some of the lesson content ideas that I've had real success with my adult students. So that's the plan for the webinar at the end of this month. Of course, you'll get details about it as long as you're on my email list. And the best way, and also on Facebook too, the best way to get on my email list is just to head to timtopham.com and scroll to the bottom of the page. There's a little place to pop your email in. But I imagine most of you are probably on my email list already. So you'll find out about that, and I'll certainly jump online and we'll talk about it a little bit beforehand as well. So keep those questions coming through. The name of that podcast, Beth, was the Music Lesson Business Academy. It's on iTunes store, really great one to check out. And we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, when I get the boys on to talk about it next week too. Yeah, Jacqueline, it's really interesting that the practice, because it's our biggest issue, right? Piano practice. So when these guys started talking about some of the thinking on it, it literally blew my mind. So I cannot wait to share it with everyone. Now, just as a wrap up, I'm going to sign off in just a moment. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I hope it's been just a little bit of a quick wrap up of some of the things that have been going on. I hope your years have started well. Of course, we're coming towards the end of term 1 here in Australia, so there's holidays coming up again at the end of this month. We've got Easter too, so the year is, it's moving along pretty quickly. I hope you've been having great success in your studio, trying out some new ideas, and enjoying your teaching. Do let me know if you do have any of those questions for John Schmidt of the Piano Guys. If you've enjoyed his music, if you've got any questions about how he does anything, how he composes, how he teaches, they're the kinds of things I'm going to be wanting to ask him. But if you have any specific questions, let me know. Just leave a comment under this. And I'll do my best to throw that into my interview questions. Fantastic. All right. Thank you, Maggie. Great to see you on the call, and also Beth. Definitely check out those things. If this is of interest, or you know other people who may have some questions that they'd like to ask the Piano Guys, then please feel free to share this around. All the best, everyone, and have a great night or day ahead wherever you are in the world. We'll speak really, really soon. Bye-bye.